shotglassdigital.com. Rebel Force Radio is brought to you in part by Little Debbie Snacks, bakers of all galactic goodness, like mini donuts, Star Crunch, cosmic cupcakes, cosmic brownies, nutty bars, and much more. It's all about celebrating your love of a galaxy far, far away, and Little Debbie is the fan's choice for all those sweet moments. Little Debbie, official snack of Rebel Force Radio, Rancho Obi-Wan, and fans around the galaxy.
Rebel Force Radio presents...
Hello, what have we here?
Fangirls Going Rogue.
I met her in a Jedi chat room.
Star Wars news, topics, and conversation from the female point of view.
I like the sound of that.
This is Fangirls Going Rogue.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fangirls Going Rogue. I think this is episode 25. We are in a time where Star Wars is literally everywhere. I was just in the store the other day, and I went from store to store, and every place I turned around, there was Star Wars something. And it started getting me wondering who I could talk Star Wars with, and who else would I talk Star Wars with than my awesome co-host? Oh, by the way, I'm Teresa Delgado. With me is Tricia Barr. She's from Fangirl Blog and also does an awesome podcast all about Star Wars speculation called Hyperspace Theories. So, hey, Tricia, how are you?
Hi, Teresa. Yes, it's, now we get inundated with Star Wars, and I want to talk to people and say, this is what I saw, and that's what I saw, and isn't this incredible? So, and it's even getting more incredible. It's less than 50 days until Star Wars.
Yeah, are we? I think we're less than 50 days away. I'd have to look at my trusty Star Wars app. But before we get into that, we need to bring in our other sister in the Force that also helps us break down everything Star Wars with a very big splash of pixie dust. It's Sarah Woloski. She's from Skywalking Through Neverland. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, guys. You know what? There's a new Star Wars movie next month.
There is. Hey, guys, it is officially 44 days, 4 hours, and 42 minutes away.
Wow, and even less than that when you actually listen to this. We are so excited.
Right. Yay. So, guys, a Star Wars trailer released. I don't know if you guys saw it or were aware.
Nah, really?
No.
That happened?
No. See, that's the worst part about doing a monthly show is that we don't get to talk about this stuff right away with each other.
That's true. But we get to see each other's tweets, which is always fun.
We do. We do get to see each other's tweets. And we do know what each other likes, so we know what to tweet out at each other. But before we get too far into things, so from this trailer, do we have any idea what a Snoke is yet?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think we do.
It'll probably be the question of like the entire trilogy. So we'll still be asking hashtag what's a Snoke, or if you're me, it's number what's a Snoke.
Be one of those things. But let's talk about the trailer really quick. I mean, I know we all did some really in-depth trailer reaction stuff, and we'll definitely talk about that stuff in a minute, but what were some of the things that stood out to you? We can go round table. I'll just say one of mine. There's this scene where it's kind of the big aerial battle scene that's going on, and off in the distance you see this just huge cloud of like mist or fog or water just kind of rising up over like that lake. And if you look really close and you zoom in, it's the wake that the X-Wings are creating as they're flying low over the water. And I was just like, that is sick. And then I thought about Tricia, and I was like, Tricia's going to die.
It took me like 3 times to realize what that was at that moment. And it's actually the water shot that we see in the first teaser we ever saw with X-Wings coming. And then it flashes to the stormtroopers looking at this wall of water coming. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's like a force of nature, except it's X-Wing powered.
Whoa. I'll have to watch that again.
Yeah, you'll need to watch it again, and you need to zoom in on it and just kind of and take the YouTube video and go really slow, and you'll see it. So, Tricia, what about you?
The first time I watched it, when I got to just seeing Rey's face and just her voice in the beginning, that was it. I was done. I was lost. I did nothing computed except for Han and the princess theme. Then that was it. That was like Rey, oh my gosh. And then I went beyond that. And I love to see, because we asked listeners to respond. And Patty Hammond had the same moment. And she said Rey and her voiceover when she says, "I'm no one." And, she's got to be someone important in Star Wars. And so, but it was just kind of surreal because I don't know, it was cool to see that costume that was at Celebration Anaheim. That was how she was, all wrapped up and covered up, and that there she is. I was like, wow, okay, this is for real.
Wow. That's so amazing. Well, I have a moment. And actually, when we asked our question on Facebook for people to respond, Letitia Duke also had a similar moment. She says, "My favorite thing is Han and Leia's embrace. It looks like a comfort embrace, and the look in Leia's eyes just tugs at my heartstrings." So yes, me too. Like, I know that Han and Leia's embrace is literally less than a second in the entire trailer, but I think that's what stood out to me the most. Like, if you had asked me after first seeing the trailer, hey, what do you remember? That would be what I remembered, because for me, the Han and Leia love thing is just totally like why I love Star Wars. So that's just a big moment for me. And then the fact, of course, that you get the Han and Leia's love theme, that is one of the two main themes that they use for this trailer. I was super excited about that.
Yeah, that was a great moment. I think I tweeted to you that screenshot or something.
Yeah, well, it's now
like
it's now my my Twitter for Jedi Tink. It's my Twitter image.
Yeah. So my second thing is actually the hidden symbols that are in the flags at what I'm assuming is Maz Kanata's palace. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know what the building is. I don't think any of us know, but there's all these flags hanging down, and there's some Mandalorian symbols in there, along with some other really cool stuff. But on top of that, you have to go slow, and it's actually in my Facebook cover photo right now. As BB-8 is rolling by behind Han and Finn and Rey and Chewie, he's looking at this droid, which is a very Clone Wars-esque droid, actually. And he looks at him, and he's just looking up at him like, what the heck are you? And it's just the best look on a droid's face ever. And I had Bethany Blanton screenshot that for me, because she was screenshotting parts of the trailer, and I was like, you have to get this. She got it, and I put it as my Facebook cover photo.
Love it.
Because he's just like, no.
There's also the pod racers from the Phantom Menace flags.
Yes.
In there.
All the pod racer flags. Zero the Hutt has a flag in there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There's some very interesting things in there.
And it was Sam Witwer I saw who first tweeted that the Mandalorian Boba Fett flag was in there. And then after that, it was like, I'm not even going to go look. Somebody's going to look all this stuff. And within a couple hours, people had dug you can find posts on this, that people have literally just found all the little flags. So it's really cool. There's even one that some people think looks a little bit like Sabine Wren's helmet. Rebels. So that one's a little hard. It's sort of buried, but it definitely, when you look at it close, you're like, okay. One of my other favorite moments is literally the end. We had seen in the Instagram teaser the kind of start of Finn and Kylo, and when the lightsabers were drawn, and then we get to see the slashing of the lightsaber and that cut right when you see Finn's face. It's this look like, it reminds me of the face of Han Solo when he chases the stormtroopers in the Death Star, and then he runs into them and realizes this was a really bad idea, and he's turned around and is running away from them. And that's very much what's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fight with the lightsaber. And then he sees it coming. He's like, I don't know about this anymore. So
like,
wow. Oh, I love that moment. Well, my other favorite thing that stuck out to me in the trailer was the fact that it's Han that says,
It's true. All of it.
when referring to the Jedi. Because, in A New Hope, he's the one who says,
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
So it's like his character has taken such a journey, and he's like not only has he in real life kind of had a turnaround from grumpy old, Harrison Ford to, oh my gosh, this movie is amazing, but it seems like that's what his character also does in the Star Wars saga. So I'm really excited about that.
He's the true believer, which is crazy in the inversion, but it's totally believable because a lot of times the people who are converted to something are the bigger believers in it than the people who are maybe born into a belief. So it's really cool to see him say that, and just with the music and everything, just the way it was all cut, and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you guys, one thing I noticed about this trailer is that it got me emotional, just like all of them have, and I'm sure it got you emotional, but did it get you emotional the same way as trailer number 2, the Chewie We're Home trailer, and did you cry the same way that I know you cried during trailer 2? Because for me, it got me emotional, it got me to the verge of crying where there was some, water in my eyes, but it's just not, it doesn't have that same punch. And for me, it's not even the Chewie We're Home line. It's just, there's something about the music edit in trailer 2 that got me a little bit more than this one.
I'll have to say that trailer 2 definitely got me more. I mean, the fact that we were, in the room, that it was revealed with everyone was partly what did it, and the Chewie We're Home line. This one, it was a little bit different situation. I was in downtown Disney watching it with a bunch of fans. However, we were really close up and it was actually overblown, the speakers right next to us. So we couldn't really hear everything. Like even the music, it was hard to make out because we were so close and it was too overblown. So it wasn't until I was back home watching it again by myself that it was the Han and Leia theme that really got me, and I started to kind of well up a little bit. But yeah, not as much as trailer 2.
I was literally, we were on with the 7 Samurai of Star Wars podcasting, as Leland Chi has dubbed the group that Bobby Roberts from Full of Sith put together. We were on talking about it, and then it was funny because people, you could tell, like Justin Bolger was just watching the TV, and then it was like, okay, it's 2-minute warning, and then we all ran, but we knew we had to come back and talk about it, and so I was trying to, I have to like sound like I know what I'm talking about when I know that I'm not going to process it. And so I'm trying to be really serious and, flapping my hand. That's why I said I was like flapping my hands at my eyes, trying to keep them from, I have to watch this, I can't cry. So, but it was probably more emotional, just the experience of the one in Anaheim. And this one, I was really looking at it, I don't know. I guess maybe I had turned it off because I was trying to do my Star Wars podcast thing. But I've watched it a gazillion times, and every time it creates emotion in me. I think it does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't necessarily, I'm not falling down and crying and screaming.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the fact that we all watched it live from different places, Sarah, where do you have your extended reactions to the trailer?
Okay, so on Skywalking Through Neverland, episode 97, towards the very beginning, we have our spoiler-free reactions, Richard and I, plus we have an in-depth music analysis of the trailer because Disney was so kind to release on Facebook a music-only version of the trailer, which I took and sweetened so that it's all music. And also on our Skywalking Through Neverland feed is that complete isolated score, which I, have sweetened, that you can just listen to constantly. So subscribe to Skywalking Through Neverland and just click listen over and over and over again like I do.
I was so appreciative that you did that because when they released the music-only version, I was like, what's all this weird? And then I realized
the ducking.
Yeah, the dialogue or whatever, the sound effects. So then when you leveled it out, and I'm like, oh, God, I love this. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. I was I had to hear that music by itself.
And Tricia, where can people find your live reactions?
Well, we did the Full of Sith did the 7 Samurai Star Wars podcast. So we did, there were, let's see, I'm trying to think. It was Nancy from Tashi Station, Tracy from Club Jade, Justin Bolger from TFN, Bethany from Star Wars Report, myself, Bobby Roberts, and why am I missing somebody?
Mark Newbold.
Mark Newbold, yes, who was... I don't know how he stayed awake, but he did. He was going to.
No, he didn't stay awake. He was supposed to be up earlier, to record Beauty and the Beast for Disney Vault Talk, which he scheduled for the wrong day. So he went to sleep. And he set up an alarm to get up to watch the trailer with you guys.
Oh.
It was such a hilarious night. That Monday night was one of the best nights of podcasting of my life, and the way that things just intertwined. Like, one of the things that I want to see, I was talking to Steve Glosson about this, is that somebody who has more time than I do needs to make like a image that shows how Star Wars podcasting and blogging sort of all intertwines, and like where you can see us all crossing paths, you know, on different shows, because that night there was a lot of path crossing, and it was crazy.
Well, and speaking of crossing the streams, I used Sarah's music when we did our hyperspace theories discussion. So that was great because we could talk about the music, and it just, I don't even know how you can't not talk about, if you especially want to speculate about the music. So it was fun to use that. And, you know, we get to, Kay's always fun because she doesn't have spoilers, but then we talk about what's confirmed or isn't confirmed in this trailer. And essentially they didn't give away anything that hasn't already been out there. So some part of it. So yeah, that was kind of our fun discussion. But yes, everybody was jumping around and texting each other. And I know you guys were on, and I'm texting Erish, and I got I think a Skype message from Teresa.
Yeah, you did.
We were tweeting at each other. One time Sarah and I, we were emailing, texting, and tweeting at each other.
And I think a Facebook post too. Just for fun. Just because we could.
And you're like, okay, so now I have to go back and look. I don't know where this conversation was because it was all over the place. But yeah, those are the fun things in 30 years ago, you couldn't do that.
Nope.
Back in the day. And even with the Phantom Menace, that was not really a possibility to, cell phones and doing that, or instant message, any of that stuff.
Well, now,
so,
Teresa, where are your live trailer reactions?
So my live trailer reaction and also the quest to get tickets can be found on the Disney Vault Talk feed. If you want to listen to it in order, as far as like tickets and then trailer, you need to start with Beauty and the Beast Disney Vault Talk, and then transition into the Disney Vault Talk Rebel Yell over the Lost Commanders. And it's a continuous story hidden beneath the rest of the podcasting. But yes, Disney Vault Talks Rebel Yell, and we did our live reaction on the back half of our episode about the Lost Commanders. And then also we gave our thoughts on the trailer on the most recent episode of Star Wars Bookworms, episode number 47. So there, both of those places.
Perfect.
And everybody has their tickets?
Oh yeah, I was going to actually ask you guys about that. So tickets, how did that go down for everybody else? For me, it was chaos on the internet of every website known to America crashing. It was chaos. So I couldn't get tickets anywhere. I was trying because we were trying to go to the Alamo Draft House, and I ended up saying, Mom, you need to drive down there. So she drove down to the actual theater. I made her get up, put on clothes, and go. And I was trying to podcast and buy tickets at the same time, which is really difficult. Just so you know, it's really difficult to do both of those things. And she got down there when there was only like 5 people in line, so we got our tickets. So we're going Thursday at 10:35 at the Alamo Draft House on South Lamar, and I will be joined by Riley and Bethany Blanton from the Star Wars Report, and Steve Glosson from Geek Out Loud will be there on Thursday night.
How fun. Yeah, that sounded like an awesome place to see that. So we actually do not have tickets in hand yet because Richard and I are joining the official TCL Chinese theater line in Hollywood, and that's through liningup.net for charity. So basically from December 5th through December 17th, they're having 12 days of Star Wars, and that's the line. And if you put in 24 hours total in the line, like you sign in and check out, from December 5th through the 17th, you're guaranteed your tickets to see The Force Awakens at the very first IMAX screening on the 17th at the Chinese theater where Star Wars all began. So I'm very excited about this, and it's going to be interesting to try to get those 24 hours in, but we'll manage somehow.
That is ambitious.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see it with all the people too, because there's going to be so many people there, like Obi-Shawn. I know Rick Peralta, Eliza Peralta is the 7-year-old girl who knows who the voice of Chopper is. You know, their family will be there, and a ton of other people that I'm sure that, you know, we've met. And I've heard stories of the line. It sounds really fun, and there's sometimes some fun things that happen as you're waiting, and people show up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And so, Tricia, what are you doing?
I'm seeing it at 7 o'clock on the 17th, and then I'm watching it again at 10:30.
Nice.
The 17th, because the first time is not going to go through the head, and then the second time I needed it again, and then I'm seeing it again on Friday, and then I'm seeing it again on the weekend. So how's that? I'm doing all the difference. I'm doing 3D, I'm doing IMAX, I'm doing the XD, so every which way.
How fun.
Yeah. So we had some stuff to give away. 2 lipsticks from CoverGirl that I commandeered for our listeners. So I can now reveal who those are going to. One of them will be going to our good friend Chickafant. And the other one will be going to a fan on Facebook, or a listener on Facebook. I'm going to say fan, that's weird. Listener on Facebook, Lauren Grace Keene. So if you guys hear this, I need y'all to email fangirlsgoingrogue@gmail.com with your mailing address so that I can get that sent out to you guys ASAP.
We did it!
We have to talk about the girl power in Star Wars right now. It's almost kind of crazy. Did everybody see the Duracell ad?
Sir, I must advise against this. The odds of survival are 608 to 1.
No choice, 3PO. My sister's in trouble. R2 gets it.
Yes, that's
Yes. Oh, so cool.
That did get me a little weepy-eyed. Isn't that crazy? I got more weepy-eyed out of a ad.
Everything okay, bud?
I'm not sure yet.
Hurry. You're our only hope.
Lisa!
What took you so long?
So, or maybe not. Maybe when I saw it, I wasn't like knowing that I was going to see it. But there might be some good reason why that Duracell is one of the brands that teamed up with Lucasfilm for this. So they had some corporate cohesion on this, and they didn't just make a commercial. They had the cinematographer from The Force Awakens work with the director of this ad, which shows a boy putting his Duracell batteries in his lightsaber, and then fending off some stormtroopers, and then it kind of segues back into him in the Christmas living room with his parents, and the mom gives him another lightsaber, and then he goes out and there's a sister in kind of a Rey-ish costume that he's running out to, and she blows back some stormtroopers, and then they're fighting together. And I was like, whoa, dude, this is awesome, because it's family time, it's the holidays, and I don't know, it was really impactful for me. So did you guys see it and love it?
I did. I saw it. I was the same way, because I think I was actually reading your Fangirl blog, because you wrote a post putting this Duracell ad in it, and just the fact that, there is promised that, Leia will be wielding a lightsaber at some point, and we never get to see that. So the fact that after reading that and then watching the commercial and seeing the brother and the sister fighting off, the dark side together from their home, like that was amazing. And I did get a little teary. So thanks for that, Tricia.
Well, and Tricia, on the screen grab you have for this, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's Snow BB-8.
Yes, there's Snow
BB-8. Which is really cool. But, if there's granted, commercial is not canon. But if we wanted to take anything from this, little Rey is using the Force.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that little girl is using the Force. And it's really cool, because I think what the commercials and what it's just saying is a lot of mediocre Jedi on Twitter, which we all know, Dave. He'd said that he was in the store and there was a costume and the girl saw it and she said to her mom, "Oh, this costume," and she said, "Oh, that's a Jedi costume. That's just for boys." And he wasn't sure how, like if he should explain, well, no, that's the girl's costume, but it's just a mom in a store who has a preconceived notion about what Star Wars is. So this is a really subtle way. I even saw this ad on the Food Network. There's a shortened version. So it's a really subtle way for people to see women involved in the kind of the action adventure Jedi-ish looking stuff, which his mom said to her girl, "You don't get to be a Jedi. That's for boys" things, to kind of change that notion without actually giving away any of the story. And one of the cool things too, we haven't seen in Star Wars, which we see in this ad and we see in the trailer, the Poe Finn scene, which we didn't get to talk about because it has Poe in it, but that camera angle swivel, that's not something that we've seen in Star Wars, where we get to pan around and see multiple perspectives. And that happens in this ad too, which is really cool because you come in from the brother's point of view and then it swivels up and then you see all those Star Destroyers and stuff. So it's also giving us, who might be more used to Star Wars, a kind of taste of the visual we're going to get.
And then let's see, I just want to talk about this really quick. I love the interview between Carrie Fisher and Daisy Ridley. It had me laughing like no other interview I've read recently. And I think Carrie Fisher should be a late night talk show host.
She should.
Where can you find this interview?
It's from Interview Magazine. So yeah, they did this interview for Interview Magazine, and Carrie she just sort of brings it. I would like her to interview Harrison Ford.
Seriously.
Me too. For that matter. As long as they kiss at the end.
They could all have it. Well, but the interview blew up Tumblr when it dropped. I mean, literally just blew up Tumblr. Our queue for Fangirls Going Rogue's Tumblr is locked and loaded for a while because there were the cool pictures, but Carrie Fisher just goes right into, she tells her to fight for her outfit. What did she say? She talks about being a sex symbol, or maybe not thinking she's a sex symbol. And then Fisher says, "Well, you should fight for your outfit. Don't be a slave like I was." And Ridley says, "All right, I'll fight." And that's been the headline from the takeaway from this, which is essentially, have back when Carrie Fisher was up in this role, women couldn't have the conversation to say, "No, that doesn't make me comfortable." You just weren't allowed to go there. And so she's essentially saying to Ridley, who else can tell her what it's going to be like to be this character, to be the kind of the object of a lot of people's obsession even. And so it's good to she has somebody she can talk to and go through these things. And, I was on the fence for a long time. I was really worried about the original actors coming back, and mostly because of Carrie Fisher, because she had to go through a lot of things. The costume was not easy on her. She has mental illness problems, which she talks about and she's open about. And that's good because she's talking about it as something that we can deal with. And she had addiction problems, and some of that came during the time when she was filming Return of the Jedi. And so she's been very open, and she's very open and maybe a good mentor to Ridley and having a voice. So I loved this interview and the conversation, and apparently a lot of people did too.
So I want to thank you, Tricia, for tweeting about Jimmy Kimmel the night before, because you're 3 hours earlier than me. I was like, "Ooh, okay, I will record Jimmy Kimmel." So I did. And so the next day, Richard and I watched, the Jimmy Kimmel, I guess, was it the Halloween episode too?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. And then Harrison Ford comes on. I'm like all excited to see him, all excited. And he comes on in a hot dog costume. And I'm like, oh, that's great.
Well, apparently he's quite a dresser-upper. Jimmy Kimmel had shots of him in all these costumes with his wonderful wife, Calista Flockhart.
You know what? I don't think he's the dresser-upper. I have a feeling Callista's behind some of that.
She's like so fantastic and wonderful. I'm loving her in Supergirl, but the costumes are crazy. And then he's saying to Jimmy Kimmel, he's like, "Well, I do it so I can be inconspicuous, so my kids are trick or treat." And Jimmy Kimmel's like, "Yeah, no, that's not happening.
That doesn't work."
He would actually be better off probably dressing up like Indiana Jones or Han Solo, because people would be like, "Look at that dude trying to be Indiana Jones." They like wouldn't notice him.
Wow.
I think as much as if he is walking around in a hot dog suit.
If I was Callista, I'd be like, yeah, you're dressing as Indiana Jones or Han Solo every year. Thank you.
Well, actually, I did get misty-eyed when he talked about his plane crash. That was the thing that sort of choked me up.
You were in a plane crash. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember, like,
not all of it.
Not all of it.
I remember some of it. I remember the engine stopping. I remember that part very well. And then I remember telling the tower what I was going to do, and then...
Good call.
And that's the last thing I remember till 5 days afterwards, actually.
And then I just loved him when he asked.
Now, we got the police report, said we were called to Pinewood Studios at 5:05 p.m. after reports of a 71-year-old man being injured by a garage door. Were you injured by a garage door?
Not so much.
No. It was the Millennium Falcon, right?
It was the door to the Millennium Falcon, yes.
So, did the police lie to cover up what was going on? Or how did that get out there? Or were they just mistaken?
Woof.
Oh, but what did he say about Daisy Ridley?
He said that was the subtle girl power part, was he talked about the cast and he brought her up first.
I can tell you this.
What?
It's really, really good.
And when you say that, you mean it.
Trust me. It's really good.
Is it true that...
The new cast, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, are phenomenal. JJ has made an incredible movie. You will not be disappointed at all. I promise you.
And then they announced that Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Adam Driver, plus J.J. Abrams, are going to be on the 23rd of November. So everybody, set your DVRs now. Just go set them right now for the 23rd, because I think that's going to be a really awesome moment. And it's interesting. It's also right after the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 has premiered. So they're riding a wave of women who liked a series with a female character in it that was central. And then they're going to be able to go, hey, all you guys come see our movie. So...
Absolutely. Now, I was floored. I was watching Once Upon a Time, and all of a sudden, a CoverGirl ad for Star Wars comes out. And I was like, yay, this is fun. So I didn't even know that was going to happen. And usually ads like this, I see them online later, but this one I was present for. So it was exciting. And I happened to be wearing the lipstick at the time. So there you go.
Even better.
I know. What did you guys think of it?
I actually haven't seen this, but I do know that the CoverGirl stuff, since we talked last, has now started showing up in big box stores. It's at Target and Walmart and stuff like that now.
That's better, and because I've been wandering around Walgreens still, and whatever they had is gone. So again, you have to go to, but that's good that they're maybe catching up to the demand. So.
It's still a small display, but it's there. And the one that I saw was like almost sold out.
Yeah, I've seen one store that had, instead of that standard display, it had a look. It had a box that was like these are the eyeshadows and from the look, and it had the look on it. And I've only seen that one CVS and nowhere else. So I'm hoping maybe they'll have those looks too, but then people are going to scavenge through them and they won't have the look in it. So it would be interesting if we could see Captain Phasma take off the helmet and have the CoverGirl look. It doesn't look like we're going to get that.
No.
She did multiple interviews, and we'll probably get a lot more out of her than anybody else because she's on the press tour for Mockingjay Part 2. You can see her in, and then she, of course, everybody's going to ask her about Star Wars because why wouldn't you? If you had the chance. But she did say, because we all need to hear what she said, is Phasma's character radiates through the armor like previous masked villains such as David Prowse's Darth Vader and Jeremy Bullock's Boba Fett. We come to know her not by her expressions, but how she stands, the way she walks, and who she hurts. We are actually connecting to a female character as a human being, Christie says, even if ultimately she's doing inhuman things. It wasn't just about what I was expressing above the neck. It was also focused on what I was expressing below the neck. It was an interesting acting experience as well as a fangirl's dream.
Yeah, so it really sounds like she'll be like Boba Fett. You'll never see that mask off.
She's a fangirl that went rogue.
Yay! She should be our new mascot.
I think so.
Have any of you seen Droid Tales, the latest one?
Yes.
Episode 5? And there's the one moment.
Not alone you will be. You have a sister.
A sister? It's Leia!
Yes. Wise in the Force, are you?
No, she's the only girl I've ever met.
Not many women in our adventures, are there? Fix that next time. We must.
I loved it. That blew up on Twitter too. So I was behind on that one. So it was catching up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to see this. I have to see how it unfolds. Awesome. Have you guys seen any of the Art Awakens stuff? The competition where the fan artists can put in their own ideas. And I think some people I've seen on Facebook have said they won. So they get to go to the exhibition with real licensed artists.
Yes, I believe Kevin Lyle won. He'll be coming here to LA. The exhibition is only over like 2 days, and then there's one night that's like the premiere, date and the party. So it looks like a lot of fun.
This is very similar to what they did for Legend of Korra, where they brought in a lot of fan art along with the art from the show and put it together. So this is very much in that vein, and that had a huge social media presence where it just was really cool. So it's fun to see fans kind of get to do this.
Yeah, and if you happen to be in LA, Gallery 1988 on November 14th and 15th in Gallery 1988. That will be the exhibit with all the Art Awakens stuff, and it looks really cool. I'm excited.
All right, so I wanted to bring up an email that we got from Christoph Wagner, so I'm just going to read it for you guys. And it is BB-8 focused and kind of talking about the Sphero BB-8. So he said, "Hi, fangirls, just listened to your latest podcast and once again enjoyed it tremendously. I just wanted to comment on a topic Tricia touched on concerning how to use BB-8 as an educational tool. I'm an aerospace engineer. And the reason I became an engineer was seeing A New Hope in 1977 and the desire to be able to make that cool technology a reality. It was the spark that lit my excitement and passion for STEM. If you don't know what STEM is, it's science, technology, engineering, and math. These days, I try to pass on that passion to a new generation by mentoring a high school robotics team. To be able to use Star Wars to demonstrate engineering concepts is a double win for someone that loves both. I've already started thinking about how I can integrate the Sphero BB-8 in my teaching. While I do have fun coming up with my own lessons, I feel this is an opportunity that Disney still has not tapped into. How great would it be to access teaching material that uses Star Wars as a way to explain the various subjects in STEAM education? With the new movies coming out, I am sure there will be more kids that will be inspired like me. I know I'll try and take advantage of this opportunity to nudge more kids towards becoming the rocket scientists of tomorrow." Speaking of education, while at Purdue, I taught German to pay for my degree. I'm originally from Germany and have lived in the U.S. since 2002. For a lot of my grammar lessons, I used example sentences with Star Wars references. It made my lesson planning a lot more entertaining, and the students had more fun learning German. May the Force be with you. And if I taught foreign language, I would use Star Wars to teach it.
That is cool.
We want to make sure that Christoph, thank you for listening, that you know that about Star Wars in the classroom. So they try to put together resources, teachers do. So definitely check that out. And we had a fangirl chat with Sandra and Teresa and myself that talked about some ways to use Star Wars in the classroom as well. So I love seeing people talk about this. And imagine BB-8 is going to be this way that kids are just going to be engaged, but also Rey is actually tinkering with things in the trailer, which makes her maybe a little bit more of an engineering type than we've seen. We've seen Princess Leia fix things, but typically people think of her as a diplomat and not maybe an engineer or a tinkler like that we would see Luke or think of Han Solo. So I thought that was really cool too. And then we see her walking with BB-8 in the sand. So I call that the first member of Team Rey is BB-8.
Oh, so does that make Rey Tinker Bell?
Yes, she is. She's a Tinker Bell.
Yay!
Tinker. I have a pony I ride. Her name is Pink, and I always call her Pink Tink, but now I've dubbed her Pinker Bell, and that's going to be her show name.
Oh, how cute.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Rebels here. I believe we have an email that you want to read, Tricia, from Kelly Knox.
Yeah, Kelly Knox was on my panel at Geek Girl Con for Star Wars, and I met her through social media and talking to Fangirls Going Rogue, and she said, if the Siege of Lothal is any indication, the second season is going to be better than the first. The episode literally gave me goosebumps, and I yelled things at TV like, ooh, Kanan, oh no, you didn't, run. And
you have to say it, oh no, you didn't.
Yeah, you have to say, oh, Kanan, oh no, you didn't, run.
I didn't put the sass in it.
No.
Yeah, you gotta get the sass and the oh no, you didn't. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh, Tricia, I love trying to hear you say it like that.
No, I'm just not even going to try. I'm not going to try to do sass because I don't think I'm going to do it very well. Because a lot of times my sass is my facial expression, so I don't even have to say that, oh no, you didn't.
I feel you. Yeah. Have a look.
Yeah, the look. Everybody's like, oh man, she's giving me the look. I'm just going to be gone. But did you guys see Freddie Prinze Jr. on the Jedi Council with the Schmoes Nose guys? Did anybody see that interview? He was on the whole episode talking about Star Wars last week.
Oh man, I didn't.
No, but he talks about just Kanan, and he talks about Hera, and he talks about the things that the Jedi trials of Kanan. And it's something that Teresa, definitely for Rebel Yell, you need to listen to really hear what he's talking about. So it was really cool. I recommend that episode if you're into kind of Kanan. But he said Greg Weisman had told him all this stuff about Kanan when he started. Like, they sat down. So this wasn't stuff that they've made up on the fly that came out in the comics. And that was really cool to kind of hear that. And he did not get to record the scene where he talks about Order 66 with everybody else because he just had his back surgery, but he sat in and recorded it many, 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 many times with Dave Filoni to get that exactly right. And that scene just blew me away because I felt like every moment, and if people haven't read the Kanan comics, do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you really need to.
Yes, you really need to, because it hurts even more.
Yes.
But it hurts bad just like having read it. But definitely people check that out.
Rex doesn't seem bad at all. Ahsoka said to trust him. You trust her, don't you?
You weren't there. You weren't even born.
What are you talking about?
I don't feel like discussing it. It was at the end of the war. Our fellow soldiers, the clones, the ones we Jedi fought side by side with, suddenly turned and betrayed us. I watched them kill my master. She fought beside them for years, and they gunned her down in a second. Then came for me. Later they said they had chips in their heads that made them do it. Said they had no choice.
I didn't betray my Jedi. Wolf, Gregor, and I all removed our control chips. have a choice.
Well, I'm so glad that Kelly really liked the Siege of Lothal, and I'm glad she's excited for season 2. But there's so much more coming in Rebels, and we got an awesome email from @2times_mum. And Sarah, I know that you wanted to mention this one.
Yes. So she writes, "Hello, Fangirls Going Rogue. My 8-year-old daughter and 4-year-old son, and myself as well, are so ready for more Rebels episodes. My kids love the Rebels from day one. They watched all the episodes and play with them and play with their action figures. As a matter of fact, we just found the Ahsoka 2-pack in the shop yesterday on Ashley Eckstein's birthday. Isn't that amazing? They were so happy. And as for being excited for season 2, that would be an understatement. Because what a season it sets out to be. I'm so looking forward to seeing the background stories of all the Ghost crew. Oh, me too. She's also looking forward to seeing Kanan struggling with meeting the clones. So we've already saw a bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
And who are the new Inquisitors? Is the female Inquisitor Ezra's mother? Or is it indeed Barriss Offee? That's interesting questions. Ahsoka and Darth Vader, will she open up to the Ghost crew or the clones about who she thinks Vader is? Will they meet? What will they say? Will they fight? Will Vader try to persuade Ahsoka to join the dark side? So many questions. Let's hope some of them will get answered soon. I agree. Well, gosh, let's get into some of these questions, especially like the Inquisitors now. What do you guys think about, the seventh sister and her name and the fifth brother and all of that?
Is there a fifth brother and sister and a seventh brother and sister?
We don't know. That's the thing.
And Dave Filoni's like teasing us evilly on like IGN interviews and the Rebels recon and stuff. So I want to, and do you want to be the first Inquisitor, like the first sister, or do you want to be the seventh sister?
Well, you definitely don't want to be the Grand Inquisitor because he's dead. So as far as their numbering goes, some people were thinking it might be related to, and like the brother and sister to like Night Brothers and the Night Sisters and stuff. I don't think that's the case. But I can say that as far as the seventh sister goes, I love her style. Like this last episode when she's with Ezra and she just sits down and she's like, so just talk to me. I was like, that is so manipulatively evil. Like that is evil. Now, being brutal and going after somebody and being like all like brawn and like, I'm gonna kill you. That's one form of evil. And then there's this whole like on the sly, just very just Jafar-like evil. Like, so talk to me. Tell me how you feel about this. I'm just like, oh, shudder.
And we know that Kanan will not be killing the seventh sister. So that was the deal for Sarah Michelle Gellar. So no. They said in the interview. So I'm like really excited to. She's played evil before, so this sort of kind of manipulative character who it's exciting to see it. Although I'm more excited to see because she knows who Ahsoka is. So they're on the hunt. This raises the stakes. This makes it's not just we're chasing down the Ghost crew. They're trying to find their step up to becoming the next Grand Inquisitor. This is all about, being the alpha dog in the Force users, and they're not even Sith. This is like another layer.
They're like half Sith.
Well, yeah, I wonder
it's like what you get when you marry, they're like their mom was a Jedi and their father was normal, was a Muggle. They came out half Sith.
Well, I think they were born after the whole Order 66 thing, and maybe, the Emperor snapped him up and, has him training. Now, okay, so what about this question, is the female Inquisitor Ezra's mother? Where does that come from?
I have no idea. That's
just
not
pure
even
speculation?
I think so.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't see it.
No.
And that question, she might have been, before we'd seen a little bit, because this is, in a month in the email. So we definitely, she had sent that. So I think we know a little bit more, but I don't think she's related to anybody. She definitely doesn't give me a Barris vibe.
No.
Right.
Yeah, it's
And
just,
she's not related to the fifth brother either because he is purely part shark, part human.
With cool eyes.
and I like their little the little droid things that kind of fly around.
Oh, the tiny probe droids that are like what I'm calling like if a probe droid had babies.
Yes. They remind me a little bit of the suit babies in the Miyazaki, just kind of the way they're there and being little mischievous things. So, and she's very much, I know, Teresa, why you like her too, because the Seven Sisters is like a cat. You know, when they catch something and they don't kill it, they just, you know, when they get the lizard and they just kind of mess with it and they wait until it runs away and then they bring it back. And
True. I also just like manipulatively evil characters.
She's definitely not. She's not on the spectrum of Maul, who's more just like brute into it. So
he's also very smart. He's conniving. He is conniving. I'm just embracing it, y'all. I mean, you know, let's just break it down. Ewoks aren't necessarily nice creatures, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So just all around. I'm just a terrible, bad, evil person. But I don't see myself as being evil.
The Ewoks didn't either when they were eating stormtroopers.
Exactly.
But we know those stormtroopers are nice guys a lot of the time. So they were just doing their job. And the Ewoks are like, no, they can't do that. And, you know, so that's it. So I'm so looking forward to more Rebels oh, man. And then they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger. I just know it.
Oh, of course
they will. Of course they will. You know, so speaking of like sharing like these books with you guys and stuff like that, Tricia, you got a chance to interview somebody who is the kind of founder of the Wear Star Wars, Share Star Wars movement because of her daughter. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and then take us into your interview with Carrie Goldman?
Yeah, we wanted to sit down with Carrie. She is a mother of Katie who was bullied. It's been 6 years. I met her 6 years ago at Geek Girl Con, but she's made this movement. So there's different ways that you can share your Star Wars and help empower young girls and young boys to share this journey with other people. So let's just listen to what Carrie had to say because you're going to be really inspired and you get to hear a little bit about where Katie is now.
Tricia, it's been a while since we've spoken. I think we last spoke when Katie was a first grader.
It is true.
I know. Now she's in 6th grade. It's like, how did that happen? Oh, my gosh. But I'm so glad that you want to talk with me about Wear Star Wars, Share Star Wars. That's really exciting. It's going to be a good year for it.
Yeah. So this is what, the 6th year?
Yes, this is the 6th year because it started the year that she was in 1st grade, and she's now in 6th grade. So it was 2010 was the first time we had Wear Star Wars, Share Star Wars, and it's really grown. It's so amazing.
So what day is this event that everybody needs to dress up and share their Star Wars?
Well, it's going to be on December 4th, Friday, December 4th. Traditionally, we've been holding it the second Friday in December, but because The Force Awakens is coming out on the 18th, and there's so much going on around that, we didn't want Wear Star Wars, Share Star Wars Day to get lost in the excitement of being only 1 week out. So we decided to make it just a touch earlier. And after speaking with people at Lucasfilm, the other reason why we moved it up to December 4th instead of holding it on the 11th is so that toys that do get donated, there's definitely enough time to have them delivered and given to kids in time for the holidays. We didn't want to cut it too close.
That's a great idea. So it's not just wearing Star Wars. There's other components that people can participate.
Absolutely. Would you like me to explain?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So there are several different ways to celebrate the day. First, the background on the day is that we wanted to have a day where people could show their support for Star Wars fans regardless of gender, age. You know, it was supposed to be a situation where you could say, hey, girls can like it, boys can like it, Star Wars is for everyone. So here's this day where you can wear your Star Wars stuff and show your Star Wars pride. But because it's also happening in December, we thought that it'd be a great time to host like an international toy drive. But we wanted it to be an anti-bullying toy drive. So what we ask is that people who then are buying Star Wars toys to donate put a Post-it note on the toy that says this can go to a boy or a girl. Because what happens is that Star Wars toys otherwise are immediately categorized as boy toys by groups like Toys for Tots and others. And so girls never have the opportunity to receive those toys. And that sort of goes against the whole reason why we have the day. So we ask people, wear your Star Wars clothing, pick out, a great toy while you're out doing your holiday shopping, grab another couple items, put on a Post-it that says these can go to a little girl or a little boy and donate them.
I absolutely love that. Years ago, I went to a Clone Wars screening, and this was really probably about the same time this movement took off, and I bought Star Wars toys to take to the screening. That was the only condition of going, was to bring toys.
Right.
And I tagged all of them with stickers, said, please give this to boys and girls.
Exactly, because otherwise they're just automatically sorted. There's such strong gender-based marketing in our country that it becomes an automatic thing of, oh, that's a boy toy, that's a girl toy. Although progress is being made. Like, for example, Target this year has decided to no longer label their toys by gender. So instead of toys being called boy toys or girl toys, they're just categorized. So there would be, building toys or, cooking toys, action figures, things like that, so that people don't have to feel like they're being labeled as far as who's allowed to play with those toys, which is really excellent and good progress. The other thing that people can do, we've created a Facebook event page called Wear Star Wars, Share Star Wars 2015, and we ask people to share their photos, to join the event page, and go ahead and throw up on there pictures of yourself in your Star Wars gear. Take pictures of the items you're donating. I also have provided on the event page links to information on how to celebrate it at your school or at your workplace. So that I've actually put together programming that schools can use to celebrate the day. One way that schools can do it is they can have a school-wide Wear Star Wars, Share Star Wars Day, where kids who feel moved to do so can wear something and also bring something to donate. But for schools that want to make it even more inclusive, they can celebrate it as what we call Proud to Be Me Day. So a child can be invited to wear anything that represents a special interest of his or hers. So it might be a girl who decides to wear her Star Wars clothes. It might be a boy who decides to wear My Little Pony. And as part of the programming around the day, each classroom or each homeroom gets to hold a sharing circle where the kids can sit together in a circle and each have a chance to speak in a safe environment that day about why they brought this particular item or why they have an affinity for this particular character. And everyone has a chance to be proud to be who they are. So that's another way to expand on the concept and take it starting with the idea of Star Wars, but then broadening it to make it applicable to, anybody's special interests.
And this has been a really personal journey for you, right? Just having started this with your daughter, Katie, who some of the kids didn't understand that Star Wars was for everyone. And finding that the merchandise, just having something to wear, is a great equalizer, because you couldn't say 6 or 7 years ago, I'm a Star Wars fan with your clothes, which was a silent way of just saying I'm a fan as a girl. Or if you were a boy, say I'm a Supergirl fan, you couldn't say that either. So I just love that it's kind of swollen into this great movement that everybody can just share their pride.
Well, and it's easier now. It's amazing how far we've come, even, in the 6 years. The whole event originated in 2010 when my then first grader had chosen a Star Wars water bottle, a Star Wars backpack, etc., to carry to school. And the boys at school made fun of her and told her, well, Star Wars is just for boys. It's not for girls. You can't play with this. And she got upset. And when I wrote about it, we got unbelievable universal support. And so many people wanted to send my daughter Star Wars items to show their support. That's sort of when we decided to have the idea of collecting the toys for kids who were in need, because my daughter actually, she wasn't in need. So we took those toys and we donated them to kids. And simultaneously, someone created a day of internet support for Katie. And that became the basis of this day, where we said, let's do this every year. But instead of it just being about Katie, let's make it about all the people who need support. So let's make a day where we wear and share Star Wars for everyone. But what's interesting is that 6 years ago, if I wanted Katie to have Star Wars items, I almost exclusively had to go to a boys department or a boys clothing section of the store, or I had to order items from her universe or a specialty store like Ashley Eckstein's amazing company. But we have progressed, because now I can actually go and buy Star Wars clothing in not only the boy but the girl section at stores, at mainstream stores. So I see that, and part of this might be just the mass marketing around The Force Awakens and all of that, but I feel like the message is slowly but surely coming across that this does not need to be a gendered interest. It can be Star Wars is for everyone. It's so wonderful.
Well, and part of Katie's journey was getting her own armor from the 501st.
Yes.
And I understand that the armor is taking a journey of its own.
Yes, it's a really special story. So there was huge support for Katie that first year when she was, a first grader. And the most vocal support came from the 501st Legion. And then, interestingly enough, about a year later, there was a situation at Star Wars Celebration where there was basically a slideshow running on some online news stations that were photos of people at Star Wars Celebration, but the captions were very mean, and it was a lot of cyberbullying and a lot of cruelty. And some of my friends in the 501st who knew I was a writer and who knew I had covered, Katie's story, said, look, this is happening and we can't get these news stations to take down these slideshows, and it's awful, write about it. And so I did, and we made a big to-do about it, and they eventually took down the news slideshows. But Katie said, I think for Halloween I want to be a stormtrooper because I want to support the 501st, because they were being picked on, and they helped me when I was being picked on. So I contacted the 501st and said, hey, Katie would like to be a stormtrooper to show her support back for you guys. Can you tell me what I do? How do I put together a costume? And they took that, and over the next few months, they had this unbelievable effort where people donated parts from all over the world, and they assembled a team here in the Midwest. The Midwest Garrison ran point on this, and they built Katie a custom set of armor that was phenomenal. And we had this amazing ceremony where they presented it to her, and she wore it, to everything. She wore it to her Purim carnival. She wore it trick-or-treating. She wore it everywhere. But about a year or two later, we were contacted by the 501st again, saying, hey, there's another little girl who's being bullied, who's a Star Wars fan. Would Katie consider letting this little girl wear her special armor? And Katie loved the idea, and so we packed it up and we included notes to the girl, notes of support, and it sort of created what we call the sisterhood of the traveling armor, because the next little girl, Allie, received it, but then this past summer, a third little girl surfaced who is being bullied for her love of Star Wars. And so yet again, the armor was packed up and taken from Allie to this third little girl. And so it's just kind of neat to watch the way it's moved from Katie to Allie to Layla, and, who knows who's next. But but it's definitely very symbolic.
I read that and it kind of made me all weepy-eyed and in a good way.
Yes, the onion ninjas come out when you read these stories.
The onion ninjas. I like that. Well, I've had some listeners at times tweet about maybe their daughters are having trouble at school and, about Star Wars. And I've pointed them to your book, Bullied, as a resource just to see, how would you say it's a way for people to realize that there are other people who've had this journey and other children and how to empower them. So do you want to just summarize your book a little bit in case people are looking for that type of resource?
Sure. Bullied is probably one of my greatest accomplishments in my life. When I look back on it and read it, it makes me feel so good that it came together because it was such an important project. And the book is really divided into 3 parts. The first part, it talks a little bit about Katie's story and how I, got involved in this anti-bullying work, but it quickly moves from Katie to just, bullying people in general. And so the first section looks at the problem of bullying, the different forms it takes, how it affects people and families. And the second part of the book looks at, why is this happening? What's going on in our culture? It looks at things such as the sexualization of girls, gender-based marketing, the huge focus on appearance and looks, the Photoshop generation. It looks at all of the things that are contributing to bullying attitudes. And the third part says, and here's how we make it better. These are the solutions, the social emotional skills training at schools, non-punitive responses like restorative justice, teaching kids to report things instead of keeping it a secret. And so the book is really out there for you to give you a chance to see people who are going through the same pain as you and to identify with them and then to move forward. And in that vein, although I do touch on the stories very briefly of people who ended up taking their own lives, the focus of the book is one of hope and moving forward. So the stories that I go more deeply into are the people who ultimately were able to endure and move forward from the bullying, because the model that I want to provide for kids and for families is a hopeful one that you can have pain, you might be cutting, you might have eating disorders, you might have depression and anxiety and panic attacks and all of these things as a result of being bullied. But even with all that, you can find your people, you can make it through, you can triumph and persevere and go on to have a meaningful life. And so it was very purposefully constructed to speak from a place of strength.
Yeah, it's a great book if people haven't read it. And one of the other things, too, is realizing that bullying is learned behavior. It's something that people learn how to do, and they inflict it back on other people. So just having these positive movements, doing a positive thing like giving a toy, gives someone a good feeling of doing something for somebody else, and also for sharing in the movement, it creates positive energy in the people who are experiencing it, and it teaches them how to behave in a way that's productive for all of fandom. So that's what I love about movements like this. That it is kind of explore that.
It's really great. It's so fun. So, I definitely encourage people to celebrate it, and we want to hear what you're doing and how you're doing it. We want you to join the Where Star Wars Shares Star Wars 2015 event page so that you can put ideas out there for other people who are looking for ideas of what to do and how to do it. It's very inspirational and very fun.
Well, Carrie, thank you for taking the time, and we will be blasting this out on our social media so people can find it, and also on our show notes. So we really appreciate you just working so hard for this effort and giving people other ways to explore Star Wars and meet new people.
Thank you so much, Tricia. It's really nice to talk to you.
All right, so you guys check out their website and get all the information anything you need, and just join the Facebook event and have fun and put your outfits on and share with everybody.
Yeah, I know we always dress Star Wars anyway, so it shouldn't be too hard.
Nope, not at all. And speaking of events, we kind of have a new segment that we're calling Fangirl Events because we're all doing so much stuff. So we just kind of wanted to bring up some places where you can see us and also hear us and stuff like that. So for me, upcoming things actually just released today, but it'll be about a week until... It'll be out for about a week when you guys hear this. My episode of my Star Wars story came out, and you can find that on iTunes. So just look for my Star Wars story, and you can listen to my episode. I believe it's episode 15. I'll also be on an upcoming episode of the Ion Canon podcast, which is now a part of the Star Wars Report network. So you can go to starwarsreport.com and you can find it over there. It's also on iTunes. And I'm going to be talking about the next episode that's coming out. I don't know the name of it, but it is the first Hondo episode. So they scooped me up for that one. Also, you can hear me on the Star Wars Report for the past couple of episodes. I've been doing some stuff over there. And on Geek Out Loud. On Geek Out Loud, I'm not talking about Star Wars, but I am talking about Tom Hanks. In an episode all about my favorite actor and my older guy crush, Tom Hanks.
Ooh.
Oh, Wilson. Yeah. No.
Oh my gosh. It's a great episode, guys. I got to talk about that man for like almost 2 hours.
Oh.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. So, Sarah, what about you? What's going on?
Okay, well, piggybacking on you, Teresa, you are going to be in town at Disneyland, doing a Disneyland trip, and we will both be at the very first day of Season of the Force at Disneyland on November 16th. So that's going to be so exciting. I know there's going to be a lot of Star Wars fans there. Some people even driving up from San Diego that I know of, perhaps even Mediocre Jedi, who we mentioned earlier.
That's
and
awesome.
I know, I'm excited. And so it's going to be so much fun because Season of the Force, of course, is like basically Star Wars at Disneyland, Hyperspace Mountain. I think we mentioned it on our last episode a little more in detail.
Did.
Yeah.
We did. I have 1 week, 2 days, and 21 hours until I'm there.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Yay!
Not that I'm counting down or
I know, right? So if you can't be there the whole day, well, we want to have a definitive meeting time in case you wanted to see Teresa and I and maybe get some swag, get some buttons, some fangirl buttons, some Skywalking Through Neverland buttons, and some Disney Vault Talk swag as well. So at 5:15 p.m. on November 16th, we are going to be meeting in front of the Pizza Port restaurant in Tomorrowland, and then we are all going to head up and wait in the line for Hyperspace Mountain because we figure it's going to be a long wait, so why not have a meetup while we're in line?
Exactly. I think that's a brilliant plan. Brilliant idea.
So we are excited. Tricia, you'll be there in spirit. I'm sure we'll be tweeting with you.
That's right.
Yay. And then I also want to mention the 100th episode of Skywalking Through Neverland will be coming out probably at the same time as this Fangirls Going Rogue episode, very close to the same week. So everyone go check that out. We're going to share 100 memories from 100 fans for our 100th episode.
Wow.
That's an undertaking. Had my hats off to you. I'm just going to give you a tiny clap.
Yay!
Because there's no way I could do that. Mm-mm.
It's 100 fan moments, not of our show, but like of anyone's life, like their moment, their favorite moment from Disney or Star Wars or fandom. We have some Harry Potter ones in there. There's some great stories.
I got you a good one.
Yes, you did. Yes, yeah. So you'll hear them all. It'll be very exciting.
Happy Epiversary.
Thank you. Yay.
I learned that from Teresa.
Yeah, happy Epiversary.
I learned that from Fangirls Going Rogue.
So now we know it. And that's a really monumental, I mean, congratulations. 100 episodes. We have a way to go to get there, but that's really impressive. So
we'll get there in about 10 years.
Right after this episode comes out, I'm going to be heading up to the costume exhibit, which I went to in Seattle and covered for Star Wars Insider, and I will be going up to New York City. It is going to be in the same museum in Times Square that the Hunger Games exhibit is in right now and will be leaving. So I'm going to get to do a crossover madness and see both of them in the same day, but I will be covering it also for the media. So be looking for some pictures. I will try to take reference pictures if people have anything that they want to see specifically. Send me a tweet or an email and just let me know that that's what's going on. And also in Star Wars Insider, I have in the latest one, I'm doing features. So this is 161. It's the Obi-Wan Hero's Journey article. So Obi-Wan, yeah. So that was fun to kind of dive into that character. I keep I'm like, oh, that's really intimidating, Han Solo. Oh, okay, I'll do it. It's Luke Skywalker. It's really intimidating. Obi-Wan was really intimidating. So
I bet you it comes out beautifully.
It's fun. It's beautiful. I mean, the art. Jonathan just does it beautiful. And now there's Rebels Insider, I guess, that you can get. So Star Wars Rebels magazine. I think that's really cool. And then I have been on a little bit of a shopping adventure after getting to talk to, in the last episode, Lillian about Kohl's. I was actually approached to write a blog about online shopping at Kohl's. Oh. So I got to do some two-way shopping, which was really fun. So you'll be getting to see a little bit of my adventure with Kohl's here in the next week of all the fun things I got to do for that. So that was kind of cool, kind of crazy that ended up working out that way.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time. Do y'all know what time it is?
Roll it, Rob Dellinger.
Shout it out to the social media from Teresa and Tricia and Sarah. Shout it out, fangirl shout outs.
All right, so first up, we wanted to congratulate Sophia Hunt on being Fangirl of the Day. Her dad is a super awesome fan of the show, and he listens to us and stuff. He keeps us updated on the girls, and he tagged us in their Jedi and Rey cosplays that they did on Twitter and stuff. But Sophia got to be Fangirl of the Day, and it was amazing. So I have this shout out from her. It says, "Hi, I just wanted to tell all of you how much I enjoyed the last episode of Fangirls Going Rogue. I loved getting to hear about all of your Force Friday experiences, and I have to agree, #Rey sells. Our family went shopping on Friday morning and went to 3 stores, and we only found 1 Rey action figure the whole day, which of course we bought. I was so excited to hear you bring up the young Rey cosplayer picture Daisy Ridley Instagram. My sister Cheney and I had one of the biggest fangirl flails ever when we saw this posted. A picture of Cheney cosplaying as Rey and me as a Jedi in the top right corner of the collage. Wow. We were both so happy and stunned. I think Daisy has already become a positive influence in the fandom world and a great role model for young fangirls. I can't wait to see Rey in episode 7. I also thought it was great having Kay on as a guest host, and the interview with Anna Graves was super awesome. I very much agree with all of you saying Star Wars actors are the nicest people. Everyone we've met and heard are just the coolest. Looking forward to the next episode. May the Force be with you, Sophia Hunt." And she's just awesome. I love these girls, and being that they are kind of getting close to the age that I teach, like I would love to be their teacher. And also, Sophia, you write wonderfully. Your English teachers must love you.
She does.
Yeah, Daisy is sounding like her universe a little bit,
Yeah.
Posting pictures of fangirls. Like, I love that. Just keep that love going. All right. Well, I wanted to mention on Instagram, we have some fun posts. So Joey...
It's Joey Pittman.
He wanted to make sure we saw Target's Instagram with a girl dressed as Darth Vader, which is super cool. Target Instagram this picture. It has, the girl dressed up. Her mask is up, so you can clearly tell it's a girl. And Target says, they only trick-or-treat once a year. Every minute counts.
I just love that people now send us this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like they tag us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can see all these things. So thank you very much for people for doing that, because it's like all these cool things. It's like that's part of the girl power thing, because I'm like, look at even Target's doing pictures of girls.
Yeah.
And then we had also BJ Smith, MD, who sent us a picture, and it was Ahsoka Lives, not just on Star Wars Rebels, but at the Smith house on Halloween, sporting a Her Universe Ahsoka tunic with pride. And I just thought that was great that he sent that picture. And, flaunting that he has somebody special in his life who's also part of Star Wars, and then tagging us. So I feel like, yay, thank you people for seeing it. Every one of those makes me smile. Every single one of them.
Yeah, and what a great shot. Like, she's wearing her Ahsoka tunic, and then they put the Ahsoka, face paint on her. She looks awesome.
It is awesome. And I think that's it. We have to roll it again, Rob Dellinger.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious, Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the Fangirls on Character. It's a character discussion.
So we had another email from Megan, who's at Meg Zoo, C-U-E, no, let's say
Z.
Meg Skull.
Meg Skull. There we go. Megan at Meg Skull on Twitter. And she said, I just want to say that I really enjoyed your latest episode. What really hit home was when you were discussing what you would want as your Star Wars pet, which led into the discussion about everyone's own knowledge of Star Wars. It reminded me of a time when I felt like my fandom and love of Star Wars had been questioned because I didn't know a certain fact. I would say that I'm fairly quite knowledgeable about all aspects of the movies and any non-movie stuff, but I also know that I do not know everything. I struggle with that at times, but it feels validating to hear you say that it's okay not to know everything. My favorite Star Wars quote was when Tricia said, everybody brings their own special flair to Star Wars and the things that mean the most. Also loved your interview with Lillian about the Coles campaign. I'm so thankful to have met her and other girls, true Star Wars fangirls. And then she ended with, what's a Snoke? So thank you for that everybody knows that. So as I'm going through Tumblr, doing our Fangirls Going Rogue Tumblr and tagging things and reposting them, I noticed that the I'm no one really resonated with people.
I'm no one.
As far as, what that people felt like they could identify with that, which is amazing because it's literally just a line of dialogue that we see from a character. But if you think about it, Teresa, wasn't sort of Luke Skywalker in no one when we first met him too?
Yeah, he was in everyone. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, he really was. He was just this kid.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
You have to think about it in the sense that we hadn't seen episodes 1, 2, and 3, so we just knew of episode 4, A New Hope, and to us, we had to figure out who he was. It's the same thing as like what we're doing now, trying to figure out who Finn is and who Rey is.
And who Snoke is.
Yes, and who Snoke is.
Or what is.
For sure.
He probably doesn't have any issues with I'm no one. I'm guessing.
No, he's probably I'm Snoke.
But in that same vein, when we think about Snoke, it sort of reminds us of maybe a Palpatine who pretended like he was somebody, but he was, he wasn't the Sith Lord to other people. He was kind of in a costume, that's even, you see it in the costume exhibit. When you look at them there, he's pretending to be this benevolent senator who's a friend to the queen. And even with Queen Amidala, she's a face of the people, but she is sort of faceless in the way that her costume is presented. And then Padme is walking around pretending like she's just the handmaiden, which is some of my favorite parts in The Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon thinks that the queen won't know about this. And she's like, well, yeah, she does.
Like, oh, well, I don't approve.
But there's a lot. It's funny because the I'm no one character in storytelling is what we sometimes call the everyman character. It's supposed to be the character that anybody can insert into and relate to. And in the social media age, when we're talking about storytelling, sometimes we struggle to figure out who we are in this, like, you see a lot of people talking and sometimes you feel like you're no one because there's always a bigger fish on social media, right? Or a big fish in the podcasting world and on blogger sphere, because I tweet sometimes, and I'm tweeting with somebody. I'm like, oh man, Anthony Breznican is writing for Entertainment Weekly. So everybody always feels like so it becomes a very relatable statement. I'm no one. And then you have the Anakin, who literally, we see him in the Phantom Menace. He is a no one. He's a slave. He doesn't even get to have an identity. He doesn't get to have a right to choose to do anything. So these are kind of really important characters. But for Teresa, you're a big Boba Fett fan. Do you remember when you first were interested in him? Was it early on? Did you like him in Empire Strikes Back?
I think my love for Boba Fett just came through merchandise, to be honest. I just like his look. He looks wicked cool. I've always loved the way that he looks, not necessarily anything about him. Kid Boba Fett's okay, but I prefer armored Boba Fett. I think I got more into him as I read the Boba Fett comics, when we meet his wife, not wife, and daughter and stuff. To be honest, I really think it was merchandise that did it. And plus, I just love dressing in all of my Boba Fett stuff, because one of my favorite pictures ever is being with Jedi Tink and me just being like, what's up? Come and get me.
We're fighting each other.
Come and get me, Tinkerbell.
That's awesome.
And I'm glad you brought up the merchandise, because that's where a lot of people fell in love with Boba Fett, because he was a toy before the movie, and people were, he gets to show up in parades. So he's essentially literally a no one in the story, other than he's a piece of merchandise or a costume that people somehow are starting to feel connected to. And that's kind of the connection. But then for a lot of people, the merchandise, and Kenner knew this when they started putting the toys out, is that people were starting to make their own stories with the toys. They were creating their own ventures and actually becoming attached, which is why we literally have 1 million Boba Fett different stories. He's had comics and books, and he got to come back in the prequel trilogies because people couldn't get away from wanting to tell stories, and he got to come back in the Clone Wars. So Sarah, have you been one of those people that are attached to the clones, or did the Clone Wars make you attached to the clones?
I would say the Clone Wars, hearing their story more made me attached. I've never been a big, stormtrooper fan. They all seem faceless to me, so I couldn't relate because there wasn't enough to grab onto there. However, if I could go back for a moment to the no one tag and apply that to the hero's journey, I think you really have to start with a no one that you can relate to. And that no one is the one who goes on the journey and becomes someone.
Yes.
And so I think that's why Rey is starting as no one, and she is just at the beginning of her journey. So I know that doesn't answer your question, but I just wanted to jump in and mention that.
No, and that's why it's just really interesting that it strikes a chord with people. But I didn't really understand the passion for the clones until I started meeting, especially younger kids who would really connect. We went to a Clone Wars screening, and they asked the name of everybody, I think, in one of the squads. And this little kid raised his hand. He knows the name of every single one. For him, those characters were already real, and they really hadn't had any story told. But to him, they were so important that he knew their names already and could memorize them. So it's that, Teresa's seeing it that way and growing up and being attached to the Boba Fett and these characters. So there are ways that we can sort of self-insert and go on the journey with them.
I have like 6 Boba Fett things staring at me right now. I started counting them. I was like, 1, 2, 3.
So do you have, I know you did your shoot with your toys. Do you have a lot of Rey toys, Teresa?
I have a Rey Pop, and I have the Rey Black Series 6-inch. And what I noticed is mostly BB-8. I've gone really BB-8. There's BB-8 shirts, BB-8 purse, BB-8 cup, be that I take my drinks into school in the morning, my smoothies, BB-8 pop vinyls. So I think mine is shifting towards BB-8, but then also Rey and Kylo Ren. So those are the 3 characters. And what's funny is I know nothing about any of them.
Sarah, the character that's captivating you?
BB-8.
BB-8.
In fact, right behind me right now, bolstering me is my BB-8 plush that we both have now.
Yes.
And that Teresa will probably need to get once she's here at Disneyland.
I don't know what this is.
Oh, it's
is
at
it
Disneyland.
Big?
It's big. Save room.
How am I don't have room for that.
Oh, you will. He's a good proper upper for podcasting pillow.
It totally. He's like right here in the lumbar support right now.
Yep, and his head spins, and the cats think he's really cool. So,
yeah, for me it's BB-8. I don't really have anything else. I have a bunch of Han Solo, dolls of different heights.
Speaking of that, Teresa, when you talked about your favorite BB-8 looking up at the droid in that one shot, I love the look, the turn of his head when he looks at all the TIE fighters coming from the side when he's at the back of the X-Wing. And did anybody notice that his antenna flies back in the wind, which I love? It's like he's like, woo! Anyway, but the droids, which is interesting too, the droids really have no personality or story to speak. They're just there as part of the adventure. So it's interesting that people attach to them and how we give them almost human characteristics. But if you see the packaging of the Sphero, BB-8 is programmed with traitware, which is supposed to essentially give him a personality.
Well, I think the droids do have a personality, but it might be something that we project onto them. But I mean, like, for instance, Chopper definitely has a personality, and he definitely says all kinds of crazy stuff. And, R2 has a personality as well.
R2's always saving the day.
Right. So I'm interested to see, like, is BB-8 kind of like a Chopper? Is he more like an R2? Is he in the middle? See, I need to see all of these guys together at one time.
There you go. Although I love someone did the meme of I will finish what you started, and then it's C-3PO. Like, when Kylo Ren says I will finish what you started, and then it's C-3PO. Like
his
building
head?
No, just building C-3PO, because that's what Scott Walker I will finish what you started. Is that it? Is that it for Kylo Ren? He's just got it's the search for to replace the red arm and get him back to wholeness. No, that's not the story. I doubt it, but it's funny to think that it might be. So yeah, I think we definitely touched on the I'm No One, and we're going to have some interesting character discussions coming up here when we know a little bit more about these characters and the journeys they all went on.
Just let it in.
That brings us to the end of another show, and we are sad to go, but we will see you guys next month when we get into the actual month of the movie when Star Wars The Force Awakens comes out. You can find us in the meantime on Twitter. We are at FG Going Rogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin, and Sarah is at Jedi Tink.
You can email us fangirlsgoingrogue@gmail.com. Facebook, just type in Fangirls Going Rogue, and Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com.
And on Instagram, we are at FG Going Rogue. And if you want to leave us a voicemail, we'd love to hear your thoughts about Star Wars Rebels or The Force Awakens, any ideas you have, who's your favorite character. Please leave us a voicemail, 331-21-EWOKS, which is also 331-213-9657.
And please go like Rebel Force Radio on iTunes and leave a positive review. And in your review, mention how much you like this show, Fangirls Going Rogue, and we will fangirl flail for you if you do that.
Yep.
So until next time, da-da-da-da-da.
Yub.
Yub.
of&nbsp.